It's 2024, but we're going to tell you our top 5 two-player games for 2023. These are all games that came out mostly
within that year, within that time frame.
Within that time frame. There is one that we're going to start with that technically came out at the end of 2022, but I think it kind of got lost in the shuffle. It never made any of our lists, and it's a really, really solid game.
It's tough when the game, because it came out, we got ours in December of 2022. Yeah. I mean, like after we had filmed our, best of the year already. So it got missed last year. And then, of course, like when you're looking back this year, it's like, that was so long ago.
Yeah, we thought it was actually 2023, but it is Splendor Duel, and this came out late 2022, but we're going to include it in this list because I think we played it more in 2023.
Well, for sure, because we didn't even get it till the end of 2022.
But yeah, this is Splendor for 2 people, and a lot of people by this point had thought Splendor, Schmender, and I know Ryan was one of them. He'd kind of fallen out of love with it.
I fell out of love with it a long time ago, honestly. And I'm glad that people can enjoy Splendor, but I'm really glad that Splendor Duel gave me personally a way to enjoy Splendor again.
Yeah, and it did exactly that. And I think it actually serves to be much like Seven Wonders Duel for a lot of people, the really preferred way to play the game.
Oh, for sure. For me, at least, especially.
Yeah, Splendor Duel adds just enough to it that makes it a lot more interesting. Is when you're playing just against one other person, there's a lot of real, I wouldn't say cutthroat, but a lot of aggressive decisions you can make about how you manage your game that affects the other player, and it feels really good to have that sort of 1 versus 1 version of the game.
All right, the next game that we want to talk about is a fairly recent release, but this is Jekyll and Hyde versus Scotland Yard. Now, this is a follow-up to Jekyll versus Hyde, which I know you were an early adopter.
I was.
You were one of the carrying the flag for that game for a while before it kind of hit the pop culture consciousness.
Yeah, big fan of that game. That is a competitive version where one person's Jekyll, one person's Hyde. In this one, it's the same, but you are fighting together against Scotland Yard. In the first one, you're trying to one person's trying to unbalance things. That's Hyde. The other one, Jekyll's trying to keep things in check and keep things balanced. This one, you're trying to stay several steps ahead of Scotland Yard. And it is a campaign-based game where you're it's still trick-taking, but it's a cooperative game where you're trying to manage yourself across this board, staying ahead of Scotland Yard. And as the game proceeds through these different sort of chapters, it gets harder and harder. They add new elements. There's in the first scenario, I think that we played on our live stream, you don't even have Scotland Yard on the map.
Right.
They're not there.
They're not there yet.
Then they get added. It gets trickier and trickier. Very interesting. I'd like to see what they do, what Mandu does with this long term, if they do even more with it. They have started to do other games in this vein. They did Dracula versus Van Helsing too.
Which is interesting too.
Which isn't out here yet, I don't think. But both of these, I don't know if you can play both of these on BGA, but Dracula versus Van Helsing is definitely
on there. And I would have loved to get a chance to play that one. But last thing I'll say about that is I just love that they were able to take the same system. So if you've played the first game, you already know the rules for the second game.
Yeah.
But making it cooperative just is such a smart idea. I just think that was great.
Yeah, the idea of taking trick-taking games and doing what a lot of companies, including Mandu, is doing is really, really cool. What's the next one?
All right, number 3 is Koale. I think I'm pronouncing that right.
I think so.
I don't want to say a sequel or follow-up or whatever, but this is from the same group that did Quarto, and they have several other games in this line.
All those wooden abstract games from Hachette and Gigamic. It's
their guys. Newest one. And
I don't know if it's the same designer. It's probably not the same designer on all those.
I don't know, but it's the same set, same
vibe.
The same vibe. It's a very abstract game, uses wooden pieces, but this one is my favorite. I know you're a big Quarto.
We're going to end this right now.
Something about Quarto, I do enjoy the game, but my brain cannot absorb what's happening enough to win.
Yeah, Quarto.
Koale, I kind of can a little bit more.
Yeah, you have beaten me several times at Koale.
Never in Quarto, maybe once in Quarto.
Quarto is definitely a block for you for some reason.
It's just a tough one.
But in Koale, it kind of uses a mandala, or mancala, not mandala. A mancala mechanism where you're picking up stones off of one space and then dropping a stone, and you're trying to get, again, 4 in a row. And it gets pretty interesting, and it is one of those things where you can kind of look at some of the stacks that are out there and go, Oh, that's a dangerous stack right there.
Can't add more tiles to that
There's
stack.
a fair amount of tension, and like all of those games, it's a beautiful centerpiece for the
Yeah,
table.
we got to play that giant one at Gen Con.
Oh, yeah.
It was so gorgeous. They actually had to take it away because so many people kept trying to buy it, which is hilarious.
I still want a giant
I know, you
Quarto.
want, I know, yeah.
I need a giant Quarto. Gigamic, Eshat, if you're listening.
It's a deep need. All right, on to number
2.
Number 2 is Lost Ruins of Arnak, The Missing Expedition.
Yes.
Now, Lost Ruins of Arnak is not a 2-player game by itself, but this Missing Expedition expansion it's a 2-player cooperative adventure that uses Lost Ruins of Arnak as kind of its springboard to like tell this narrative story, which is something I've not quite seen done before.
No, and we've only just fiddled with it a little bit. We are actually going to be playing it soon during a live stream on the channel here, maybe even a little bit more content. But we're going to be diving into this, and I'm really, we love Arnak here. It's definitely, the year it came out, one of my favorite games, maybe even made the top of my list that year. To take it and do this with it, it's the kind of thing that makes me want to get it back to the table and play it with you, but also play it with Alicia.
Oh, for sure. And
I'd love to play this with Alicia.
And it's not a legacy game, so you can play this campaign multiple times with multiple different people. It also does introduce new components that you can use with the base game.
Yeah.
If you don't want to play the campaign, you can still use all the new cards and characters and things like that, which is really cool.
Yeah, I don't know if they're going to be doing much more with Arnak, but I'd have to say, of all the things they've released for it, it feels like a solid offering. I mean, like everything they have for it. I don't know what else they could do.
Fingers crossed that we're at least going to get a big storage box, because I die for those big storage boxes.
Lost Ruins of Arnak big box.
Yeah, I go crazy, especially if they have nice storage solutions inside. I love that stuff.
So our number 1, if you haven't guessed it already, we did just live stream this. We're going to be live streaming all of these games on the channel during the month of January. It is SkyTeam. SkyTeam. We set it on our top 10 list. It was on my top 10 for the year. It's definitely, I think, in a lot of people's opinion, the number 1 2-player game that came out.
Definitely my number 1 2-player game.
It was a huge hit at Gen Con. Everyone wanted it. Everyone who I've ever played it with thinks it's really clever. Even when we just played it on the live stream, there's people in the comments who were familiar but hadn't really seen it deeply. Seeing all the new the modules and stuff coming out and marveling at kind of like, wow, all of that's in the box. What a variety that it gives, given what you're doing in the game.
Yeah, I know. I'm a big fan of SkyTeam. I'm a big fan of just the variety that comes in the game. There's so many different difficulty levels. If you feel like you've mastered the game, you haven't, go up to the next level. There's a bunch of different modules that make the game feel different, and some of these different airports that you choose use different modules in different ways. So every experience you play is very different. Every puzzle you're trying to solve is very different, and it is a very tense game. And it's one of those games where you probably will lose a lot.
You will crash.
When you do win, it's especially in the harder ones, your win is like by the breath of a die roll. That die had rolled the other way, you probably would have lost. And those feelings are exhilarating. And it's hard to match that in a board game.
Yeah, the theme is really, really strong. And if you do crash, just start over.
Yeah, it's not a long
Unless you're
game.
Doing a live stream on our channel, then take a mulligan.
Mulligans are fine.
Yeah, be sure to check our live stream on it. We did crash, and then we landed a plane full of ghosts at the end.
Yeah, we've played we've played it twice now. We've done 4 different airports, but we have yet to do any of the red or black difficulties, and I'm eager to see how quick we crash on a red or black one.
The yellows are hard enough. We took a look at one of the black ones, and it is insane. Like, you have to have a lot of things going on in your
I guess
head.
the point I'm making there is that this game is going to continue to offer you something as you master these different airports. There's always going to be a higher challenge.
And I want to bring on the expansions. Please, if you're listening, Scorpion Masqué, please bring us the wildest, craziest expansions you can think of for this
I want a Star Trek expansion where you're on the bridge of a starship. How cool would that be?
Starship. I just want some fantasy mixed in, some supernatural stuff.
Oh, that would be cool.
Like we said on our live stream, get with Stephen King, come up with some sort of like Langoliers expansion.
This system is so cool, and you can replace that dashboard with like any kind of vehicle.
Yeah, no.
I mean, you could tank command.
The brilliance, though, is that it's 2-player, and that fits so well with
it does,
airplanes.
But you got
submarines Enterprise got all sorts of people.
But you got number 1 and number 2. You got the captain and number 2. So whatever, they can make it work.
Anyway, that is our top 5 two-player games of 2023. Yep. Let us know what you think about our list. Let us know about your list down in the comments. We'll get down there and talk with you about them till our heart's content. Until next time, make sure everyone has fun at the table, and we'll see you then.